So to begin the Story Square project at home, you're going to use Google Drawings, and this is going to be similar to the digital quilt that you completed a few weeks ago. Um, just with, the images will be a little bit more involved this time. So you're going to open up a new Google Drawing. Let's write digital. Okay, and the requirements, just go back to here. 5 masked images. 5, the final artwork must have a patchwork patterned borders. You can use drop shadows, reflections, color filters. Shapes must be outlined with a dotted or dashed line, and there must be some free stitching. Um, all right, so I'm going to start with a background color. I'm going to do that by right clicking and then going to my background. And you could choose a gradient or you could choose a solid. So I'm going to go with a gradient just for some tonal differences. All right, and then I'm going to go to, I'm going to do my border first. So I'm going to search red patterns. I'll start with this one, insert. And you can copy some patterns, but you should at least have like 8 to 10 different ones. And I want this to be outlined too. So I'm going to do my stitched outline, and I'm going to do a contrasting color. So I'm going to do like kind of a light gray. All right, and then I'm going to look for my next one. And I'm going to look for patchwork this time. All right, you can see there's some kind of quilt designs already. And they don't have to be the exact same size. I'm going to try to get it pretty close. But, if one square is a little bit larger or smaller than the next one, that just kind of adds to the handmade look of it. So that's fine. All right, I'm still in my patchwork search. So I'm just going to look a little bit more into here and see what comes up. All right, so I have 3. And you can crop these too. So to crop your images, you would go to this crop tool and say, I just want really like kind of the red and the orange section, and I don't want so much of this green and this blue. So I'm going to do that. And then hit enter, and you end up with just a piece that you want of your image. So I'm trying to get these pretty much around the same size just to kind of make my life easier. But like I said, if you don't have it perfect, that's fine. All right, so I have 4. If you wanted to do, so you need 2 to 4 more to kind of have like a good variety of images. When you're ready to copy it, you can just click on it, copy, paste, and you'll end up with an extra, including the outline. And then you can rotate it, and you would just start to fill it in. Down around the sides and along the bottom. All right, so that's creating your border. Once you have your border finished, what I would recommend is that you go to you click on your patchworks or your squares that you've added in, and then you control. So I clicked on one and then I pressed control to kind of select everything. And then you go to arrange and group. And what this is going to do is this is going to kind of lock all of these in place so that you move them together as a unit. So this way, if anything happens, you don't have to move them individually. So that would just be my recommendation um, once you have your border finished. Okay, so now you're going to look for your masked images, right? Let's just kind of pretend that my border is done. And so I'm going to insert an image. And now you're looking for things that would be part of um, your five masked images. So things that kind of like represent who you are or your interests. So I'll do an easy one. I'll do coffee. Now, the only thing is that you can't do pictures that you've taken on your phone. You can only do masking with images that you find online, and Google is going to pull from, their sources. So, um, you want to try to generally keep these a little bit broad. So this way you have a good chance of finding lots of images. Um, if you're really into like a certain type of Nike sneaker or like a Converse sneaker, you could look up that. But for the most part, you want to keep it kind of general. All right, so I'm going to find a good coffee image that I really like. All right, so I'm going to insert that one. And I'm going to mask this, and it's highlighted. So I'm going to go to my drop down mask, and I'm going to choose a heart because I really love coffee. All right, and you can kind of change your shape around, rotate it if you want to make it just not so straight. Clicked on my border. All right, and you need to do the stitched outline. So I'm going to thicken the border weight. So I'm going to give it a 3 so it really stands out. I'm going to choose a red color because it kind of goes with my background and what I've been doing for my border. And then I'm going to choose a dotted line. Okay, now if you want to do your drop shadow, you could do that. You can kind of change the angle. And if you want to get really tricky, because this is on a red background, you can make a dark red shadow, and that's going to look a little bit more. Now, if you notice, if you don't blur the radius, the stitching kind of shows up in the drop shadow too, which I think is interesting. If you blur it out, it's less noticeable. So you can do that. All right. And then if you wanted to recolor this, like if you wanted to make it a black and white photo, that's in their format options too. So you can do something like that. It's hard to tell if it's coffee when you do that. So I'm going to do um, no recolor to keep the contrast there. All right. So you need to do that for 5 images. I'll do one more. Oh, so if you really love sunflowers, try that one. So I like this one, has a good point of view. It has lots of color, and I'm going to mask this image, and I think I'm going to do something a little more interesting. Let's see. I almost kind of want to put it in a sun, but I think I'll do it in that. And then I can kind of enlarge this a little bit. So something like this, you could even have in the background, and I'll do that in a second. If you want to have it kind of behind some other items. So I'm going to do all my outlining first. Thicken up the border weight, make it dotted, change the color. Okay, and I'm going to not really play around with the drop shadow on this. So I still have this highlighted. It still has the blue frame around it. And then I'm going to arrange, order, and I'm going to send it to back. So now it's behind my coffee and it's also behind my border. So if you want I want my sunflower to be on top of the border, I'm going to click on that border again and then arrange, order, and I'm going to send that backwards again. So now I've changed the layering of my images. So I have my sunflower over my border, which I really want my border to kind of be the most recessed thing in my image. And then I have my sunflower, and then I have my coffee. So I'm going to do, now I can do my drop shadow. Go. And same thing, I'm going to make it like a dark red. I'll just blur this out a little. Okay, now I said too, if you wanted to play with reflection, you could do that. So something like that, you can see how that appeared on the corner of my sunflower. So if that's something that you wanted to add, you could do that. You could change the transparency of that a little bit, make it further, make it closer, change the size. Basically, the size is how far it's going to extend. Okay, so once again, something that you don't have to do, but it's a tool that is available to you to add some interest to your work. All right, so this, I'll show you a finished one that I have. All right, so this is a finished one that I have. It has my 5 items. They're all masked shapes. They all have stitching around the edges. Some of them have drop shadows. I've figured the arrangement, so I have some things coming forward, some things receding into the back. There's free stitching across the surface, which was explained in the digital quilt project. And then also I have my patchwork border surrounding my image. All right, so this will be the at-home version of completing the story square. You'll just do it digitally versus in person. And if you have any questions, let me know.